Jackson Podcast.
The revolution wasn't televised in the 60s. Is it going to be televised in the 90s?
Well, you know, the catchphrase, what that was all about, the revolution will not be televised, that was about the fact that the first change that takes place is in your mind. You have to change your mind before you change the way you live and the way you move. So when we said that the revolution will not be televised, we were saying that, like, that the thing that's going to change people is something that no one will ever be able to capture on film. It'll just be something that you see, and all of a sudden you realize, I'm on the wrong page, or I'm on the right page, but I'm on the wrong note. And I've got to get in sync with everyone else to understand what's happening in this country. But I think that the black Americans have been the only real die-hard Americans here, because we're the only ones who've carried the process through the process. That everyone else has sort of like skipped stages. We're the ones who marched, we're the ones who carried the Bible, we're the ones who carried the flag, we're the ones who tried to go through the courts. And being born American didn't seem to matter, because we were born Americans, but we still had to fight for what we were looking for. And we still had to go through those channels and those processes.
Thank you all for your presence. You far too kind, man. You know, last week we had a dope show. We was talking about hip hop and Young Thug and all the things that has transpired in his career, the snitch allegations, the new music that was released and all of that. And as soon as I got off the podcast, the next day, Charlie Kirk passed away. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, first of all. Now, what I want to say is that I got a question. I want to pose this question before we create the vibes and before we get into the conversation. And I want y'all participation in the comment section. Is violence the language of the people who don't know how to articulate themselves? Now, I'm about to get on some Dr. Umar shit and say it one more time, even though he say things 3 times. Is violence the language of the people who don't know how to articulate themselves? Let's further that discussion. Let's go, let's go, let's go. What's good with y'all today, man? I know most people listen to this on Sunday night or Monday morning before they're going to work, or while they're in traffic, or while they're working or working out, or just living their life, man. I appreciate you, man. You know, I see a lot of people like been exposing themselves due to this Charlie Kirk assassination. A lot of commentators, a lot of people that proclaim to be media, individuals speaking malicious, individuals crying on podcasts and stuff like you know what I'm saying, they knew the man or whatever. And what I want to say about this is that, you know, by definition, he was assassinated. I see people saying that he wasn't assassinated. On my channel, I normally talk about hip hop. I sprinkle in politics and stuff here and there, though. But on one of my biggest shows, I mentioned Charlie Kirk. It was the show where I was talking about reparations, and I was playing a video from Killer Mike having a conversation with Bill Maher. And then I started doing my research on Charlie Kirk. And he was in my hometown at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And he was speaking to some kids. And I was like, why is this grown man speaking to kids, like debating children, college kids? You know, and he spoke to this young black guy that he was very intelligent too, the young guy. And they was talking about reparations. You know, reparations is a continual conversation that I have been having on my channel as of recently, because it's something that was presented by the government, just like 40 Acres and a Mule was presented by the government, that it was going to be something that was to repair the damage that was done to the black community beyond slavery. When I say beyond slavery, I talk about the Wilmington massacres. I talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, with Black Wall Street, St. Petersburg, you know, a plethora of things and towns that was damaged. I talk about the Red Summer in 1919, reparations. And, you know, Charlie Kirk was against reparations. He spoke like reparations was something that people was going to have to pay back with their tax dollars and stuff, you know. But if you feel as if the people that you're living with in your country don't deserve something, but we're willing to pay tax dollars to other countries to fund wars and stuff, it's just different. But let me get back on Charlie Kirk. So, you know, I feel as if violence is the language of the people who don't know how to articulate themselves, because nobody deserves to die based upon their opinion. Me being in this space, I learned from Troy Terrain of the Star Report to have an objective perspective. I don't speak malicious on anybody. I'm not trying to defame anybody's character. I'm not trying to have a reckless disregard of the truth so I can end up in court on anybody speaking maliciously about them. That's just not who I am as a person anyway, though. But salute to Troy Terrain for giving everybody on YouTube and him doing this thing at Hot 97 and him educating the folks on being objective when you speaking about individuals. Charlie Kirk is an individual I didn't agree with a lot. I didn't agree with him a lot. You know, a lot of the things that he was talking about, me and guns, you know, I don't like guns, period. You know, the reason I said that no one deserves to die based upon your differences, the things that you disagree with the person about. It's because, like, think about this for a minute. Name one person in your life that you agree with in totality. It's nobody. You don't agree with your mother, your father, your spouse, your husband, your cousin, your sister, your brother. You don't agree with everything they do in totality. Nobody. But if you can tolerate the things that you disagree with this person about, you can keep them in your presence. You know, if someone you love lost their life based upon a disagreement, how would that make you feel? You know, death is a crazy thing, though. And speaking is a crazy thing also, because hearing, seeing, learning, and stuff. It's just interesting how people, internalize the things that's being said. How people are programmed to be in fear or to be malicious or to be evil with their words, and how people interpret things that's being said. It's just interesting. Now, the reason I titled this show Wake Up Now, America, is because we divided on so many different fronts. We divided based upon sex. We divided based upon left, right, conservative, liberal, black, white, rich, poor, broke, fat, slim, gay, straight, LGBTQ, straight, homeowner, renter. We don't value each other. And when I look at the people that's really controlling the country, it's not a democratic society no more. It's owned and ran by the oligarchs. The people with the most finances are controlling people like puppets. I've been mentioning that race doesn't even matter no more. They talk about that this situation that happened to Charlie Kirk was white on white crime, right on right crime. I'm just, in a state of shock at the things that I see and the things that I heard people speak about. But before we play one of the first clips, I got to keep the vibes going. I don't want to have people's spirits down before we get into the conversation. I got a few clips. I want to talk about Amanda Seale's reaction to Charlie Kirk's death. I want to talk about Charleston White's reaction to Charlie Kirk's death and then his appearance at the HBCU. Alexandria Cortez, she spoke about gun violence and gun rights and stuff after Charlie Kirk died. We're going to talk a little bit about hip hop and, the release of Mobb Deep's new album, Big Bank. He spoke about something, he's famous. And his fame he's more popularized now since he did that interview with Young Thug last week. And he's speaking more and he has more viral content. And I want to talk about something that he mentioned on his live. LLCoolJ put out a statement about the state of America that we're going to converse about also. And at the end, I want to react to a video of the guy who was conversing with Charlie Kirk when he got shot. He did an interview with Channel 5, the same YouTube platform that did an interview with Hunter Biden as of recently. And it was a great conversation. I listened to the whole thing, and we're going to react to a few pieces of that. And then Memphis, Tennessee, my home state. Trump, he said on NBC or Fox News or one of those channels that he said, we're going to Memphis. I got to react to that. I got to talk about how, the mayor reacted to that and everything. And we're just going to have a dope conversation. I appreciate y'all time. Let's get into the record. Let's get into it.
Yeah. We live? You know that love fluctuate and that hater fluctuate. You gon' question who you trust when that paper fluctuate. Know that love fluctuate and the haters fluctuate. They question who you trust when they paper fluctuate. Choose me, choose you, use me, use you. What's love, what's true? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Choose me, choose you, use me, use you. What's love, what's true? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. On my mind, they on the way to my heart. There's people on my side, they try and break me apart. Get super petty, we buying tables right by the ops. And we don't attend that party, but send they party some shit. I'm introverted, I pop. You niggas scared, you hot. I green light you with paper, plus you got paperwork, stop. You never know who'll be cool. Some gon' lie on the oath, Some gon' lie to the crew, some gon' say what they say, but they gon' do what they do. They play you thirsty for fame, they play you bishop for juice. Ain't no morals, no rules, game ruthless and cruel. It's way too many funerals, pallbearers, the shooters, who's who. You know that love fluctuate, and that hater fluctuate. You gon' question who you trust when that paper fluctuate. Know they love fluctuate, and the haters fluctuate. They question who you trust when they paper fluctuate. Choose me, choose you, use me, use you. What's love, what's true, ooh, ooh, ooh. Choose me, choose you, use me, use you. What's love, what's true, ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, yeah.
Dope song by Wale. You know, I'm looking forward to Wale releasing new music. That song was titled Fluctuate. You know, the love fluctuates. The paper fluctuates. Friends' feelings about you fluctuate. People that support you feelings about you fluctuate. They love you one day. You know. Love me now and in the flesh. Don't wait till I'm put to rest. What goes up must come down. Don't wait till I'm dead. Love me in the flesh now. Fluctuate. Dope record, man. Dope record. Salute to Wale. I want to get into this clip from Amanda Seales. We reacted to her on Jubilee as of recently. I did pretty good numbers on that conversation. She had a great conversation also, and that was about reparations. That was her against 25 conservatives, and she viewed herself as an independent also. So she spoke about Charlie Kirk, and I was standing with her in that Jubilee. She was bringing up statistics and factual statements, but you know, her reaction to this was different. I'm going to lay out both clips before I give my perspective on it. I'm going to play her clip. Then I'm going to play Charlie Kirk's clip of what he thinks about empathy. Then we're going to read the definition and I'm going to give my take. And I would like for y'all to interject in this conversation also.
I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk. First of all, Charlie Kirk don't believe in empathy. He said it's a bad thing. He said it's some new age made up shit. He also said people got to be sacrificed in order to protect guns. If he was saying that while fighting for reparations, I may have a little bit of empathy. But this white on white violence, he died? Damn, B. Life comes at you fast. I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk because I cannot be in his shoes. I have no frame of reference for that. I have no cognizance for that. There literally is nothing about his existence that I can relate to. So I don't have any empathy because I have no connectivity. I have more connectivity to someone who is a complete stranger that dies of a drug overdose than I do to someone like Charlie Kirk. Because life is hard. And I understand that. Because it takes very little for someone to end up committing themselves to an existence of numbness. I understand that. That man got murdered at 31 at a college event in the middle of a sentence talking about black gangs. What a way to go. Oh, Chanel. He was actually taken out by an old white man in one of the whitest, whitery, witty white states in existence. He didn't get murked in Watts now. They took him out in Utah. They said Lady Oleana. I want you to know it was us. Ain't no way it was a black man that took that man out. Not no Utah. Mm-hmm. And right as that bullet hit him, that man was in the middle of talking shit about gangs. White on white crime. These thugs, y'all. These thugs.
You know, man, that's crazy. Just to hear how she spoke about that happening and how she feel about empathy, the definition of empathy and all of that. But I want to play Kirk. You know, this is what she heard. This is something that she heard about empathy come out of his mouth first.
Incredibly complicated rank choice voting system. Never should have been approved. It's silly. It's backwards. It's rigged. It's awful. So the new communication strategy for Democrats, now that their polling advantage is collapsing in every single state. It's collapsing in Ohio. It's collapsing even in Arizona. It is now a race where Blake Masters is in striking distance. Kerry Lake is doing very, very well. The new communication strategy is not to do what Bill Clinton used to do, where he would say, I feel your pain. Instead, it is to say, you're actually not in pain. So let's just, a little, very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time. Here's cut 60.
I have the AI overview definition of empathy because I had to go back and look at it. And I have what is mentioned about empathy in the Bible also. Because the word empathy was kind of strange for me to really understand it. I understand what sympathy is. You can sympathize with an individual because you see their circumstances and the things that they're dealing with. But one thing I want to say is that she talked about white on white violence, her not having no connectivity to his experience. Life is hard. So she feels more connected with somebody whose life is hard. I know who she was speaking about metaphorically, but I don't want to, be specific. One thing I'm going to say that Charlie Kirk was just 31 years old. I'm 45. That's young. I don't want to call him a kid because he was a grown man with children and he was a married man. And he was a person who was, capable of being the next leader in the United States because he had a ton of followers on those college campuses, giving people the opportunity to debate their differences with him. Now, she also spoke about he ain't dying Watts. He got killed in Utah. It ain't that many black folks in Utah. I only know 2 people in Utah. NBA Youngboy was in Utah, and what's my boy to do the oxtails on YouTube? Les Barbecue. Them the only people that I know that's black in Utah. But to me, this doesn't specifically have to do anything with race. This has to do with the state of America and the promotion of division. The people that's in leadership have to set an example of unity, and they're setting an example of division and childish rhetoric. I was for Trump winning. I was like, Trump's a businessman. He's going to get the real estate market back because that's what he was known for, real estate. The prices of things is outrageous. He was speaking very presidential on his run this time. And I feel like, when Trump was in office, adversity and people's real identity was shown. And I feel like that's needed for people to evolve. I like when you're shitting on me in my face, not behind my back. Personally, that's what I like. So I understand that some people don't like Trump. He can't do nothing right. And, they just don't like him at all. I don't, like him, love him, or dislike him. I'm not that type of individual. It's just that I felt as if this was needed, but it's so much chaos when he's in leadership that is nuts. It was chaos with COVID. It's chaos now. Now, I want to get into these definitions of empathy because I need to read them so I can understand their thought process of why she can't have empathy for Kirk and why he feels like empathy doesn't exist when he's speaking about it from a political perspective. So let's get into it. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, which includes putting yourself in their shoes and seeing the world from their perspective. This can manifest as affective empathy, where you physically feel what another person feels. Hold on. Is that possible for me to physically feel what another person feels? This can manifest affective empathy, where you can physically feel what another person feels, and cognitive empathy, where you use your mind to understand their thoughts and perspectives. That's possible, where I can mentally try to understand what you're thinking, what your perspective is. Brian Brown's definition highlights key components: perspective taking, staying out of judgment, recognizing emotion in others, and communicating that understanding. You know, that's something I come to learn today, that a lot of people live within their feelings and emotions. And I try to understand them, but it makes me mute because it's hard for me to interpret and internalize what other people feel. So let's get back to this part of this conversation, where you physically feel what another person feels, where you use your mind to understand their thoughts and perspectives, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. So if it's an ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, is that possible for all people? Empathy. Let's get into what the biblical empathy says. So, in the Bible, empathy is the biblical virtue of understanding and sharing the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of another person, often described as rejoicing with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. Romans 12:15, it's a core component of Christian love and compassion, requiring believers to put themselves in another one's shoes to better understand their suffering and respond with supportive action as exemplified by Jesus Christ himself. You know, Charlie Kirk, you know, he spoke Christianity. He was a Christian, a person who believes in Jesus Christ, and he died on that cross. But his actions and his words at times wasn't what this definition says biblically, requiring believers to put themselves in another one's shoes to better understand their suffering and respond with supportive action. You know, right now, people are losing their jobs speaking about Charlie Kirk. I seen at MTSU, a dean got fired. I seen on CNN and Fox News, someone had got fired for speaking about Charlie Kirk. Now, we have the right to bear arms. We have the right to freedom of speech, but speech ain't free. You know, if you can lose your job for giving a perspective, if you can lose your life for giving a perspective, how free is speech? And will those people who proclaim to be Christian empathize with you or have sympathy for you when you lose your job and you can't pay your finances? You know, it's just interesting seeing the state of this country. People are living so harsh and so, you know, not considerate. I want to get into another conversation where Charleston White was speaking about Charlie Kirk. Charleston White is a person that I frequent. I can't even hide from him. It seems like the algorithm favors him. I don't never put his name in my search engine. I don't never, you know, look for him. but he always have a viral take and people be reposting it and putting it into the algorithm. So he had this to say about Kirk's losing his life.
All of that shit about black people violence, black people this. And guess who popped his fucking top? Guess who put a fucking tag on Charlie toe? A fucking conservative white fucking kid. A Grand Theft Auto playing motherfucker. A Call of Duty playing motherfucker. Shot him. You know why? Because you're fucking children, Charlie. And I want you to hear me good, Charlie. Your fucking children are fucking trained killers. You know why? Charlie. They're not buying your fucking rhetoric. They're rejecting your rhetoric. You know why? They fucking like NBA Youngboy. They fucking like LeBron James. They like Kanye West. They like Stephen Curry. They don't want to fucking hear your shit about how violent niggas are, and they're trying to figure out how to make it amongst white children, and white children are bullying them. They're shooting up your fucking schools, Kirky boy. But you're worried about the niggers doing drive-by shooting, pulling up on each other blocks. Well, guess what, Charlie Kirky boy? They're not pulling up on suburban blocks. They're shooting up inner city hood blocks. So why the fuck you got your long white nose and those nigger business? And look what you got killed by, Charlie. Your own fucking kind. Had you been minding your business, you know what? Had you went back over there and had more debates with the niggers, you'd still be alive. You know why? Not one nigger hit you across your head, Charlie, for talking against their nigger ancestors. Not one nigger threw a rock at you, Charlie. Not one nigger did shit to you, Charlie. But guess who got something to you? Little white boy. 22-year-old cracker, pink-toed Peckerwood that shot you from quite a distance. You know why? You know why he didn't shoot so good, but he shot so good? The same fucking shit that they're using for our military, Charlie. I'm talking to you like you're here, Charlie. If you could hear me, I'm telling you, we would agree with each other. And they tell me all the time, if you could have met Charlie, you and Charlie said the same shit. Maybe so. We didn't get to meet, Charlie. So I get to talk to you since you're dead. Yeah, I would have loved to have met you before now, Charlie. I didn't know shit about you. I wish somebody would have told me about Charlie before he died. So you and I could have had an uncivilized debate. Because I would have.
You know, what's interesting to me is that I see a lot of people talking about his death so they can get into the algorithm to try to make some finances. I talked about Charlie Kirk on my channel a multitude of times. I apologize, y'all. That salt got into my throat, made me cough. I talked about Charlie Kirk a multitude of times on my platform. I spoke good about him. I spoke bad about him. But in his death, why speak about him? And why be malicious to him in his death? Like, how can you go to sleep speaking malicious about somebody that you didn't even know during their death and dislike them because of the things that they said? Even if you disagree with the things that they said, why does it bother you so much specifically that you would want to harm somebody, that you would want to get on the internet and put your face on the screen and speak maliciously about them? You the one dealing with problems, to me. Now, he said that his own kind was rejecting his rhetoric. While we highlighting one or a few people that was loud, but we're not making ourselves aware of the 3,000 that showed up to his event, or the 2,000 that showed up last year when he was going to big boy universities and having these debates. And the reason I say violence is the language of the people who don't know how to articulate themselves is because if you disagree with me, I'm creating a space for you to get your perspective off. Go become knowledgeable about the things that you disagree with me about. Go do your research and let's have a conversation. Damn, it's crazy to me. I'm not defending Charlie. I'm not against Charlie. It's just that I'm a logical thinker at the end of the day. And this is weird. But before I play the clip, I got another clip of Charleston White because he went to a HBCU. So he's having these speaking engagements and talking about people as rejecting, Charlie Kirk's rhetoric. But you having these speaking engagements at HBCUs. But before I get to that and I play that clip of him at a HBCU, something that's interesting to me, I listen to, Officer Tatum from time to time, Candace Owens from time to time. Ben Shapiro from time to time, Nick Fuentes from time to time. I forgot the fat nigga that be talking about sports. Jason Whitlock from time to time. I just listen to everything because, it's nobody in the world that you're going to agree with in totality. So I'm not the type of individual that counsel people. Counsel culture is for people that don't know how to articulate themselves because you bothered by something that somebody said. You the problem, nigga. Not the person you counseling, because let them expose themselves. That gives you a reason to give your perspective on what was actually being said. So I talked about those platforms because, I don't make myself concerned with other races where I speak maliciously about them. I'm not going to get on my platform and talk about Jewish individuals and what they doing bad. That's none of my business. I'm not going to get on my platform to speak bad about no other race of people. I'm not going to get on my platform and speak bad about my own people. It's just a weird space that we living in right now. Charlie Kirk got on his platform and made himself concerned about black people. Talk bad about folks getting positions because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Said that there need to be more fathers in the house. That's why black folks are killing up each other and there's so much crime. He said a multitude of things about black folks, that they don't deserve reparations. A lot of these people lump up a group of people because they see the majority or they see a few people doing things that they disagree with and they lump everybody up in it. Candace Owens, somebody that I frequent, I like Candace Owens' takes. But why is she so concerned with other people's and other race business? The shit is weird to me. To be overly concerned about Israel, to be creating more division. She in lawsuits with the Macrons and all of that old type of stuff over there in the UK. Why? Why want to even expose people? It's just weird, man. Now, he said that his people was rejecting his rhetoric. Now, I'm going to play a clip of Charleston White at a HBCU. Charlie Kirk had 3,000-4,000 people at his venues or whatever. Look at Charleston White.
Because I ain't got time to debate, because this is what happens. We go back and forth. The old man say two black people don't have no business hanging with each other. Why? Because all they're going to do is argue and squabble. When they get through arguing, squabbling, and debate, they ain't going to build nothing. They're not going to produce nothing. They're not going to manufacture nothing. They're not going to create nothing. So why you talk to black people?
We're not arguing, Mr. White.
We need plans. We need resources.
And that's what we talk about, how to do.
We're not coming with alternative debate. Let's go. All y'all debating for. All y'all debating for. Get some goddamn money. Big dog. Y'all want to debate? Y'all gotta listen. Y'all got an educated scholar, college educated nigga talking street talk, criminal talk. I wasted my time. Most educated game, not a goddamn thing, nothing. I thought I was talking to children. I'm arguing with adults.
Why
are you walking away from your people? Why are you walking away?
I'm down by my people.
What's your purpose? Mr. White. If you don't care about your people.
The white fuck my people. I don't give a damn about my people.
You right there, bro. You right here. Charles.
They wasted my time bringing me here.
They wasted my motherfucker. Hell, man. Fucking with me about my people. Y'all don't even care about y'all people. Go talk to your grandmama then. They wasting my time. Fuck racism. I don't believe in racism.
Get that card to Mr. White, big dog.
I don't believe in man. I don't believe in
God bless y'all, man. You too.
Man, I don't give a damn about no HCU. I went to a white school.
Well, what happened? And you're now at an HBCU.
I don't give a fuck about an HBCU.
Well, why are you here?
Because they brought me here by mistake. Hey, bro. I didn't know I was coming.
Let's go.
I didn't know I was coming. I didn't know I was coming to this.
But you still came.
Damn. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah.
You over here, bro.
Shit, that ain't a.
You know, I was talking about how people speak bad on other races and other people and their own race. You know, my grandmama used to tell me, boy, if you ain't got nothing positive to say, don't say nothing at all. You're wasting your breath. You know, you're speaking foolishness. Quit wasting your breath and quit wasting everybody else's time. My mama even said that also. But what I want to say is that when he was in that place or whatever, they was asking him about snitching, hip hop, and street stuff. And he became belligerent talking about black folk don't build, produce, or manufacture nothing. We don't have no plans, no resources, or no alternatives. You know, I know where he got that language from, too. He's speaking Dr. Claude Anderson language. And he has a point, too, though. Because if you look at the majority of us, we ain't coming together unifying to build or manufacture or produce. But since they was asking him about street stuff, he didn't have to get belligerent and turn it to what he calls the character. And if it was me and I was in that position and they asked me about that, but I was supposed to be in a HBCU where we're educating people and we're trying to build and we're trying to teach the youth something, I would have asked them. I would have brought the conversation back to them about why do you want to know these things? This is podcast rhetoric when I be talking about that street stuff. Let's get back to the educational conversation and topics. Because you wasting my time and you wasting your own time. So he could have came and combated the conversation in a way that was not malicious. But he wanted to act out of character like that. You know, he spoke bad about Charlie Kirk. And at the end of the day, he mirrors and may be worse for his own people than Charlie Kirk was. Real talk. Hey, man, I'm about to take a break into the episode right now, but I'm going to leave y'all with the vibes, man, because I know that the people that watch my platform, you might be working now. You might be on that treadmill getting busy. You might be on that bike trail or that greenway and you getting busy. And I ain't trying to stop the show. You know, that ain't what I'm trying to do. You may be in that truck and you got a long route. You might be driving from Tennessee to Detroit and you vibing to the shit right now. You saying, Trail, man, why you stopping the show, man? Or you might be, you know, at your desk and you're halfway through work and you like, man, this nigga, he done gave this perspective. I was vibing to the show and he trying to hang up on us, man, and take a break. Nah, I'm going to leave y'all with something, though. Let's go.
Get the cheddar and buy the real nice things that makes life better. No foolish ass moves, must be clever. I'm down for whatever. I gotta blow, son, it's hell but now. I walk through the ruggedest blocks with Jews flooded with rocks, hustling on hot corners that be smothered with cops. I was warned my Harlem crew roll strong. Word born, we leave mics torn. Y'all brothers slept too long, never sawn. El Coleone never fly. Records are forever hot. Front on me, you better not. I keep the Beretta cock. This goes out to my peoples uptown, downtown, midtown, across town and out of town. You see me flossing often at all the club sites, at the bars buying crystals like they Bud Lights. My style is hard like strong lumber. Dime pieces get the digits, chicken heads get the wrong number. It's time to make pebble moves and get the cheddar and buy the real nice things that makes life better. No foolish ass moves, must be clever. I'm down for whatever. busy over bounce tracks, dropping lethal raps on wax so I can count stacks. I keep a heavy knot, got a spot on every block. Honeys that's very hot get slid to the Marriott. 95 was a beautiful year for L. Now I'm back and all the ladies still cheer for L. Whatever I write is gonna be tight, cause if making hits is wrong, I don't wanna be right. Nevertheless, the East is where my crew rests. We bust caps that go through vests. We only do what we do best, and that's crippled and you brittle men. Since you wanna play rough and say hello to my little friend, it's time to make power moves and get the cheddar and buy the real nice things that makes life better. No foolish ass moves, must be clever. I'm down for whatever. I gotta blow, son, it's now or never. It's time to make power moves and get the cheddar and buy the real nice things that makes life better. No foolish ass moves, must be clever. I'm down for whatever. I gotta blow, son, it's now or never. I like drop tops when it's hot. I like lands when it's snowy. Bank account is fat like Joey. I'm not very religious, you wouldn't call me holy. Sometimes my hair's cornrowed, sometimes it's froey. Spark up the you know what, pop the moe. L stay flossing, President you rollie. Y'all brothers know me, I step in parties with minks and fly links. Shorty's hitting me with high winks as I buy drinks. And every girl I got looks like a model. If you ever see me with a chicken that she must have hit the lotto. Uptown is my home and where I roam. I stand alone, Big L Coleon got its own. Selling weight in and out of state to generate cake. The one Jake's hate got homicide running out of yellow tape. I pack totes with infrared scopes. I turn crews to dead folks. If y'all fellas is players, I'm the head coach.
You know, rest in peace to Big L, man. One of the greats. I know later on this year, Nas is going to release an album on his Mass Appeal label with Big L, and I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be hard. Big L, if he would have lived to release his music, 2 or 3 projects, man, he will be known as one of the greatest rappers of all time. Real talk. Salute to Big L, man. Rest in peace. This conversation, you know, it's about 9/11. 9/11 was a couple of days ago. And I was at work. I was working and, you know, focused on my family, my wife, and my loved ones and everything, because life comes at you fast, man, and you got to prioritize the things that you love and the things that mean the most to you. And 9/11, I just want to talk about my experience, man. Condolences to everybody who lost their life. But that was a time in my life that was interesting. It was 2001. You know, I'm 45 right now, man. That was 2001. That was like the prime time of my life. I was 21 years old. So I'm from the volunteer state. If you know what the volunteer state is, that's Tennessee, man. It's called the volunteer state because it's the state with the most people that volunteered to participate in the military. I think during what was the war? The Vietnam War. That was the state that had the most people to volunteer into the military. So I know a lot of military men. My uncle is a military man. My best friend is a military man. Even when I was a hustler, a few of my customers was military men. So it was interesting. I supposed to have been a military man, to be honest with you. I was just a hard-headed brother, you know, in the streets trying to get some paper. So I remember George Bush used to always come to Knoxville and stuff and have dinners and, you know, a whole bunch of gatherings and charging $100 a plate and all of that type of stuff to meet with the city leaders and stuff. And around this time, it was a good time in America. You know, Bill Clinton had just got out of office. The economy was booming. I was 21 years old. I had my first business in my life. I had a car wash with a recording studio in it. That's where I recorded my first album at. So the date of 9/11, I'm going to give y'all my experience of what had happened. I was a business owner, man, going to my car wash. It was 8 a.m. in the morning. I got up at 6 a.m. in the morning. A beautiful day. I don't even know what day it was, though. It was a weekday. It had to be a weekday because I didn't work weekends. And beautiful morning, sunny morning. I ate breakfast, went to the Waffle House. You know, in Knoxville's Waffle Houses, I probably passed up 3 Waffle Houses before I got to work at so many Waffle Houses in the city. And I get to work, get my stuff all prepped and everything. my uncle on the way. He's a former sergeant, the first black sergeant in the city, former military man, retired. I had our last name, Jackson's detail specialist, on the logo and everywhere, plastered all across the business. So he supported me because I'm representing him. I got his last name. I'm creating a business in his last name. So he come by every day to support me and help me out. And he tells some of his former officers and everything to come get their car washed there. We both get there at the same time. We turn on the news, and the first plane had hit the building. We was in such shock that I didn't know what to think. I was thinking that it was an attack. I didn't know how big the world was or how small the world was at that time. I was like, damn, are they gonna do something here? Is something going on? Like, is it a takeover of the United States? It was just spooky. So that whole day, we sat there, we ate lunch, and we watched the news, and we didn't wash one car or didn't nobody record one song. We watched that whole thing. And I went home and I couldn't turn the TV off. So my family members and stuff, they didn't know I was hustling or whatever like that. I wouldn't put it in their faces or put people in my presence around that time because I wanted to protect my loved ones. Few of the people that, cop from me came by, and there was a couple of white guys or whatever, it was former military men. They was coming through and they was copping and they was crying. And I was like, man, this is serious, ain't it? Because I didn't know. I'm just 21. I'm actually a child. To me, now looking back over this experience. And they was coming to me crying, getting the things that, ease their pain from me. And one dude told me, he said, man, I'm retired, but I got to go back in. I gotta protect the country. I put my life on the line for this. A couple of more individuals told me they had to put their life on the line for this. I told my homeboy, I remember just like yesterday, and this was probably 25 years ago. I ain't going to the military because George Bush, once he get in there, it's going to be a war. I was right. But 9/11, man, I'll never forget that day. Like, that was one of the most traumatic experiences ever. I remember George Bush with the firemen and all of that down there on the rubble talking about avenging what had happened. The next day, so many conspiracy theories came out. People was losing their lives, almost 3,000 people. I'll never forget 9/11. I have to go to the museum and New York City and experience that traumatic situation. I love all the stories from the people who feel healed when they speak about 9/11 and their experiences from the survivors. But that was just a traumatic time. I know a lot of people listening to my podcast are young individuals because I listen and I look at my analytics, and they may not have experienced that, but that was a traumatic time for America. And the reason I'm speaking about 9/11 like this right now is because America need to wake up before we experience something else like that with all this division that's going on. I want to get into some hip hop topics and conversations before I get back into the Charlie Kirk interesting things. LLCoolJ, he normally doesn't talk about serious stuff on his platform and on his channel and stuff, right? And as of recently, he spoke about, the state of this country. And I want to play it.
I'm hearing a lot of pain out there. A lot of people are hurt. There's a lot of tragedy going on in the world. Terrible stuff. Communities being dragged down and abused. Innocent people dying. Families being torn apart. God rested on the seventh day. Even God rested on the seventh day. You don't rest to ignore, no. You rest to restore and recharge. You rest because you know that you have fascist sentiments out there. You rest because you know you're going to have to fight against cruel injustices that are taking place every day. You rest because you're going to need all of your energy and all of your powers and all of the strength inside of you in order to combat what we're facing in this world. I love you. We don't rest and take a night off because we don't care. We don't bow to corporate overlords. We don't skip and dance and tap dance just to fit in for money. No. But even God rested on the seventh day. You're hurting. And I understand that. I see innocent kids getting dog sicked on them. I see people getting blown to pieces. I see things out there that human beings shouldn't have to endure. But in order for us to face all of that together, I want you to learn how to rest. I didn't say I want you to learn how not to care. I said I want you to learn how to rest. This is too important a time to fall victim to the celebrity tap dance, the corporate kind of shoulder rub. This is a real world we live in. There are real issues. I love you. And I'll always love you. Even God rested on the seventh day.
Let me give Elle a round of applause. You know, we are living in transformational times, and it was important that I played that after the 9/11 conversation, because that situation can happen again when you have these oligarchs and these corporate individuals that is controlling the country, and they're just controlling the country, creating a divide based upon finances they want to obtain and control that they want to have over individuals. It's really crazy right now when I look at the world and the programming that's going on, the perspectives that's being given to sway individuals one way or the other. One more time, I want to give a round of applause to LLCoolJ, because even God rested on the seventh day. Trump said, "We going to Memphis, big dog."
The Democrats don't want the National Guard there because they say they belong in war zones. But our cities, Chicago, 6 people shot over the weekend, killed. The weekend before that, 11 more.
And that's a good weekend.
Right. This is happening in every major city. There's a lunatic that's on the street, that's some Soros DA that is allowed out. What's going to happen?
So I think maybe I'll be the first to say it right now again. We're going to Memphis. Memphis is...
That's the next city.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. I would have preferred going to Chicago. I had a man in the head of a big railroad. They're doing a merger, and he wanted to come see me and all that stuff. And I asked him, because, you know, it's one of the largest train companies, maybe the largest, so you can figure out who it is. Okay, Union Pacific. And he was in my office, and he started off 45 years ago with the railroad. It's such a great story. Sir, I'm a railroader. That's the kind of guy that should ride it, you know, as opposed to a Wall Street guy that destroys the railroad, but he's good financially, right? And he was a very impressive guy. And I said, so what do you think? Where should we go next as a city? Because we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do a few at a time. But we're going to straighten out the crime in these cities. He said, sir, Memphis would be good because He's on the board of FedEx. He said, when I walk 1 block to my hotel, they won't allow me to do it. They put me in an armored vehicle with bulletproof glass to take me 1 block. He said, it's so terrible. I said, let me ask you a question. So we're going to Memphis. I'm just announcing that now, and we'll straighten that out.
National Guard?
The National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it. But National Guard. But Memphis is, look, it's a great music city. It's, home of Elvis and everything else. But I said to him, where else should we go? Where would you say? He said, sir, please do me a favor. St. Louis has been so badly hit. It's very hard, very, very hard. He said, don't lose Chicago. You're going to lose Chicago, sir. It's a great city. You're going to lose Chicago. And then we have this Slav Pritzker on television every day. All he does is hit Trump. I said, does he realize last weekend he had 11 people killed and 28 wounded?
It doesn't bother him. He says he's got the situation handled.
And he keeps saying, we have no crime problem. The week before, he had a week where he had 72 people injured and like 11 died. But if he does 5, like you just said, 5, that's a good week. Every weekend, they're losing many people. It's out of control.
You know, I've talked about the National Guard when Trump sent them to Los Angeles for the migrants and the riots that was going on. I talked about when Trump, and I reacted to the residents of D.C. when he sent the National Guard to D.C. Last week, we talked about him possibly sending them to Chicago, but he didn't do that. I see a lot of individuals on their platform talking about why did he skip over Chicago and go to Memphis? And the Chicago residents was threatening them, talking about these young boys different. We on rooftops with choppers and all of this. And, I advise him not to come here. I feel like Trump basically is wanting to be asked to help out this time and help out with the crime. Who likes crime? Like, I'm lost in the sauce at people defending crime. Like, it lowers your property value if you're a homeowner. It raises your anxiety and your stress levels being around criminals and crime and shit. Like, I want to be safe in a safe space. I ain't got time for that. But I want to say something. The National Guard, the military, is not concerned about them young niggas in Chicago. Even though I know them Rondo number 9s and them boys like that got them grenades and them rocket launchers and all of that in Chicago, the military ain't concerned about y'all. They got weapons and stuff that we probably can't fathom that they haven't even used yet. Man, they bring them drones to your hood. That's a whole different ball game. They start bringing them drones and start popping folk. I think it's just, people speak foolish defending crime. But Memphis, let's get on the topic at hand. Memphis. I'm from Tennessee, man. Memphis has been a crime-ridden city for a long time. A long time. I remember listening to 8-Ball MJG in 92 talking about armed robberies and all of that. I remember listening to 3-6 Mafia talking about worshiping the devil and all of that in the early 90s. I ain't even a teenager yet, and they was talking about this crime and stuff. And I'm 45 now. Now, when I think about crime, I think about Trump wanting to combat crime. But what is he doing to help the people that is committing the crimes? Because people are only committing crimes. Well, I ain't going to say only, because I ain't a criminal. I don't know how y'all think. But a lot of the individuals are committing crime based upon circumstances. Circumstances is what makes people want to commit crimes. And in Memphis, I know it's not, well, let me stop. Because Memphis is a hub. It's the middle of the country. It's a lot of distribution that goes out in Memphis. So I guarantee it's opportunity to get finances and work in Memphis at factories and stuff like that. And it could be he want to get control of that so he can invest more in Memphis. And Elon Musk, I heard that he's investing in Memphis. Memphis is a hub. It's the middle of the country. So I feel like they got to get that crime under control. It's in the heart of the Mississippi River, too, the longest river that runs up through the nation. It's a prime location for this country. But my take before I play the residents speaking on Trump bringing the military and the National Guard there is that what are you doing to change people's circumstances to combat crime? Because I guarantee if wages was accurate to a livable wage, it wouldn't be that much crime. Real talk.
The National Guard to Memphis. It ain't gonna stop the crime. It ain't gonna stop what's going on. We need help. We need some men to step up and get these young people out here in Memphis to stop doing what they're doing.
I think it will be a good thing for them to come to Memphis. For one, it'll help out with the crime here.
Data from the City of Memphis Safer Communities dashboard shows there have been 22 murders in Frazier this year and 409 aggravated assaults, with 131 of those incidents involving guns.
Well, it has gotten out of hand over the years, and I think with the task force and other help from other agencies that they can come here and help Memphis with the crime.
Frazier resident Carla Little tells WREG that the deployment of the National Guard could help make Memphis safer. However, some Memphians disagree.
The National Guard ain't gonna stop it. The MPD ain't. The state troopers ain't. National Guard wasting time and money. Send them back to the White House, Trump.
You know, that is an interesting take that brother gave about them wasting money, because it is a lot of money being, put into that for that certain amount of time for them to combat that crime that they could use to put into the community, though. But the government has already been putting money into the community. I feel like they're tired. Now, those statistics that they put up on the screen was crazy, because Frazier is a neighborhood. It's not a side of town. It's not the town. It's a neighborhood. They got 22 murders in the neighborhood, 409 aggravated assaults. And then I didn't see the number involving guns, but damn, that's just a neighborhood. 22 murders in one neighborhood. And folks are advocating for these people that they don't need the National Guard. He said them bringing the National Guard or the military ain't going to stop nothing. It's going to stop something. See, D.C., them boys are obedient in D.C. right now.
We have business leaders, clergy, community members. We're all standing in solidarity for Memphis. And I know we have a lot of press here. This press conference will probably get broadcast in a lot of different places. And as the eyes of the world are on Memphis, I want the world to know that Memphis stands together. This morning, we learned that the president and the governor are looking to bring federal resources to our city, which include the National Guard, which they have the authority to do. I want to be clear, I did not ask for the National Guard, and I don't think it's the way to drive down crime. However, that decision has been made. And as mayor of the city that I love, of Memphis, Tennessee, my commitment is to make sure that we work strategically to ensure that this happens in a way that truly benefits and strengthens our community. I want to note that we have been making progress as a city on reducing crime. 13% overall reduction in crime in 2024, 19% reduction in violent crime, 29% reduction in murders, 37% reduction in car thefts, and that's in 2024. And on 2025, we're on pace to beat those numbers. We've been executing a very deliberate strategy, one that focuses on identifying the most violent individuals and groups in the city, and we've seen success. We've invested in a citywide camera network that provides the technology that allows us to capture criminals more quickly. We've recently had a successful FBI initiative in partnership with MPD that has produced significant results. And because of the work and the tireless efforts of our law enforcement, we're seeing double-digit percentage reductions in crime across the board. And I believe that what we should do is double down on those strategies that we know work. I think it's important that I say here as mayor that we know the work is not done. Our city is still far too high on too many of the bad lists. And we're committed to putting in the work to making sure that we do just that. I want to speak to the reality that far too many Memphians feel. Just over the past couple of weeks, we had a beautiful 901 Day celebration, our only holiday. The only holiday that we celebrate. No other place in the country, 901 Day. Beautiful celebration. The event was scarred at the end of the night, after everything was over, because we had teenagers that had a shootout. We had a home in Hickory Hill where 4 residents were shot in their own home. I had an event last night, just last night, where I was walking through a festival, and there was a daughter that chased me down to hand me a letter that her mama had typed for her to give to me and put in my hand, where she talked about her son that passed away in 2018, and she's still looking for answers. So the pain of violence, we feel it. We know it all too well.
You know, my take on this conversation ain't gonna be too long-winded because, you know, I'm fatigued with violence and division, people not unifying, wanting to evolve, gang culture, stupidity. It's at an all-time high, I guess because people are talking about it more on their own platforms, but I'm just tired of it. I want to ask y'all a question, though. Do y'all think what Trump doing with the National Guard is beneficial to combat crime? You know, also, I want to say, does he have an agenda, really, so he can be able to monopolize these cities and create something and use these cities for his own financial benefit? What I want to say to that brother, though, who was just talking, the mayor of Memphis, progress and stuff is irrelevant. You shouldn't even have mentioned about the progress. Even though it's doing better, people are tired. We seen what happened with y'all police officers when they killed that young brother earlier this year and a few years ago, and those police officers who did that got off. People are tired, dog. I'm tired of violence. I'm sick of it. Wake up now, America. Wake up. Not just us, neither. Not just black folks. Not white folks. The whole. When I speak to the whole, man. I got one more topic that I want to discuss. I got a few more topics, but I'm excited that my wife is home and I want to spend time with her. I love her to death. She's been gone all weekend, so, you know, I got a few more topics that I could discuss, but I got one that's important, and it's going back to the Charlie Kirk conversation. You know, when he was having a debate, it was a young guy that was there, and he was debating him, the person, when he got shot. And he did a podcast on YouTube's channel 5, the guy that Hunter Biden was on his platform as of recently. And he was talking about the incident and how it's affecting him. And the guy asked him a real relevant question that, you know, I felt like it needed a further discussion.
During natural disasters, Katrina, Hurricane Helene, when something bad happens, different political agendas latch on to certain details of it, and they use it to run their own little mini news cycle. And I feel like you'll kind of be able to cut through that for people because you're just a guy who was there. Sure. And so, are you doing okay?
I don't know. I remember thinking walking away from that, like, dude, that's a memory that I'm never going to forget that happened 10 seconds ago. Like, I remember thinking that walking away. I'm like, that's a thing that I cannot forget. And it's a very weirdly, like, prescient thing to be thinking about as I'm trying to find my wife in the crowd of people. But, like, I was thinking that. It was hard. Like, I was definitely trying to, like, I was keeping it in, and and we got a call from the hospital that we had to go see my daughter like 2 seconds after we were sitting in traffic as everyone was piled in. It's like, oh, now we got to go to the hospital. And I get there and I misread the charts and I think that she's doing a lot more poorly than she is. And I'm like, I break down in the hospital. I'm like, that is, I don't think that I can handle the day. I feel like an emotionally put together person, but like, I don't think that this is a thing that anyone could do. And then the nurse is like, oh, that's not what that is. And I'm like, oh, okay, she's fine. I'm okay. Okay. But I definitely feel the preciousness of life today. Okay.
You know, I watched that interview in totality just yesterday. And it was interesting to hear how he was speaking and how he was pausing, making sure that the things that he was saying was accurate. He was taking his time to think about the questions before he spoke. And I want to say, you know, I wish that guy well, because that's something he's going to deal with for the rest of his life. That's something that his family is going to deal with after he is dead, is gone. That is dead and gone. That is a lifelong traumatic situation. And on this podcast, I talk a lot about trauma being transferable through the DNA. And I ask y'all a multitude of times, do y'all think that that's a reality? Because I do. Now, what I want to say about when you're angry and you disagree with somebody, you know, you don't have to react with feelings and emotions. You don't have to react with actions. Go research and get more educated and react with your brain and your mouth. Because if you react with feelings, emotions, and you react with violence, that means that you're low vibrational. And you're not just affecting the person that you want to hurt. You're affecting a multitude of people. That guy, Charlie Kirk, shouldn't be dead, first of all. That guy shouldn't have to have lifelong trauma based upon that. That was just a foul situation. At the end of the day, though, you know, I know that Charlie Kirk was a conservative, and he was very into politics, and he helped Trump get into office with these debates that he had on these campuses by transforming people with the ideology that he spoke about Republicans and the right and conservatism and stuff. He got Trump into the office with the youth. Now, this guy, I seen the flags up. The Black Lives Matter flag, the American flag, the LGBTQ flag, the Israel flag. He was representing. So basically, he is on the left. He's a liberal. When I think about that, I be like, man, why can't we all just be unified though? Why can't Americans just all be, come to an agreement that we humans first, that we Americans first, we're not left or right. I think that, the divide was created for control of people, control of finances, and control of decision making. And I just can't stand it, man. Real talk, I'm aware of it and I can't stand it. And it's people that may be listening to this podcast and you on the left or you on the right, or you don't like black people and you white, or you black and you don't like white people. We humans first, man. The shit is sickening, and I'm sick of seeing people participate in the divide and proud to do it. I think that that's evil at the end of the day, or a form of evil. Help me out in the comment section and educate me on y'all perspective.
And that's a lot to feel, and I felt it particularly strongly today.
Do you think a lot of things that Charlie has said would have created the desire for someone to want to kill him?
Of course I can understand being frustrated with Charlie Kirk. I am, all the time. I think that he spread harmful rhetoric. And I don't know if I'm going to shy away from that. My record is pretty clear on that. Yeah. I do believe in the same things that he believed in in a very narrow context, which is, I think that having conversations is the best path forward. Genuinely. Like, I don't know why we gave up on this idea. Like, I think people notice that debates, you know, they're not just like gonna change their mind as soon as the debate ends. I'm like, okay, but I do believe like 1,000 straws on a camel's back. Like, at some point, if they hear enough conversations and, you know, things that influence them, they will get pulled in a direction. I used to be extremely conservative.
For real?
Yeah. I grew up Mormon. I grew up I didn't grow up in Utah. I grew up in California, actually. Grew up in LA, but I moved here because I wanted to go to BYU. I really believed in the Mormon church. And then I just kind of strayed away from it. But I was hardcore Romney fan.
Oh, because he's a Mormon.
Yes.
And he's chill kind of.
There's a loyal following here, and I was for sure part of that. And then I was like, let me see if there's any other ideas. And I was like, and I saw this article that was like a response to Ben Shapiro's attacks on transgender people. And it was like, here, whatever, like it detailed a lot of these thoughts. I'm like, I didn't know that. I genuinely thought they looked down and they went, oh, that's not a penis, that's a vagina. And then like had that psychosis in their head and then move forward with their lives. And like, that's genuinely what I thought. I'm like, well, if that's the case, these people are psychotic and maybe they should be in mental hospitals. And then I was like, oh, that's actually not how they interact with the world at all. They're actually pretty coherent thoughts and make a lot of sense. And I just needed to hear their perspective.
You know, I don't think that words should make a person want to harm another individual, but you have to be cognizant and aware that people are weak. People don't know how to articulate themselves. And you have to convey a message being objective and not speaking malicious about individuals. I wish that guy well, you know. I hope that he heals from that because that is a very traumatic situation. In closing, I want to say this. I don't agree with nobody in totality. And I definitely didn't agree with a lot of the things that Charlie Kirk said. But I don't think no one should die from their words. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to my show, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support, your donations to the show. Peace, love, plenty, abundance. Make sure you go get you some money, and I'm gone. Chill.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.